T17, frenzy charges, impales, ignites, raises shocks. Suppress spell damage, doesn't really bother us. Less defenses. Can we do less defenses? Guess we're gonna find out. I probably should not be doing Beyond Rogue Exile on these T17s. That might be a little bit of a expectation for the 4 1 div champion. Especially since they're ghosted exiles. That's okay. Run with it. And his damage is good. Clear is not bad. We still need to get his vitality to a better place for hitting adrenaline. But survivability is solid. Even with the petrified blood. Damage with Blood Rage and Smite up is good. I don't know how he's going to tank these boss hits though. We're about to find out. Seems to be doing alright. Damage is better on the champion than it was on the Slayer. Always kill the monoliths. They take a little while to kill, it's okay, it's worth it. Make sure you keep Punishment Curse up on the bosses. That's damage, debuff, and an execute. I always kill the red totem first because we can absolutely get one shot if we don't kill the red totem first. Don't forget about your curses. We'll get a nice damage increase once this totem dies. And we'll get another one once this totem dies. Make sure you're in range to be hitting or splashing on a boss while you're killing the totems, just so you can get their HP lowered while you're working on totems. Also, don't forget about your health potion. You need to keep it running so you can have your adrenaline. Kill whichever one of these guys you're going to kill. He's probably just going to stand in these degens. There's nothing we can do about that. We should be fine for staying in the degens now. I would typically recommend killing her first. Sorry, her last. That way you don't have to worry about these degens on the ground. Big boss, we can fight him outside of those degens. Make sure you're not standing in those blood pools. Hammer away at the boss. Another blood pool. Purple pools are also bad, they just lower your damage. And just a quick idea on what we're doing while we're hammering away at this boss. We are using a life flask with an affix on it that we will go over in order to maintain high uptime on the life flask. The life flask is going to heal us above our petrified blood status, and then we'll get damaged or we'll spend our attacks in order to do damage, and that will cause us to go back down on low life status. When we go from above low life to below low life, we immediately gain adrenaline for 20 seconds via our champion ascendancy, which gives us phys damage reduction, damage, and attack speed. And then it also gives us some life recovery. And so the more times we bounce across that low life to high life threshold, the more recovery we have. Now the only thing that can get us above low life is flasks, so that recovery and our leech becomes over leech for us, as long as we're just maintaining low life as much as possible and just using the potion to generate uptime on our adrenaline. So it's a really good offensive and a really good defensive position to be in, bouncing across that petrified blood low life threshold. And of course we are using all 6 life masteries, so we have a higher low life threshold than normal, which allows us to still be very, very tanky, especially against degens. As far as the playstyle goes, nothing else really changes versus the boss. You're just going to keep uptime on your Blood Rage, you're going to keep uptime on your Smite Aura, and then you're going to keep the punishment curse up on the boss. And then stay out of fucking puddles. Now we could look at binding Culling Strike, maybe the Tempest Shield here to reduce the end of the boss's life a little bit more quickly, but all in all, champion works very, very nicely. T17 boss dead, 1 div champion. We'll go over skills and everything here. So we are on our champion ascendancy, taking fortitude for fortification. First to strike, last to fall is how we use our flask with recover additional flask recovery over 10 seconds. If used while not on full life, the prefix, we'd rather have like charges gained when we hit. But I rolled the flask this. It is what it is. Cheap flask. We're running Conqueror so that we can have a 100% chance to taunt on hit. That means 10% reduced damage taken if we've taunted an enemy recently, which is all of the time. And enemies taunted deal 20% less damage with hits and ailments. And then enemies taunted take 20% increased damage, and enemies taunted cannot evade attack, so we don't have to worry about accuracy on the build. Very, very good ascendancy nodes. Our tree is going to run down here through life and movement and more life and some strength and some resistance here. Now, if you have the resistance capped with your gear, you don't have to run these, but I do not, so we have to run these right here. We've got cheap jewels here so that we have some additional damage, and more importantly, increased maximum life. We're taking endurance charges everywhere that we can take an endurance charge, because endurance charges are very, very important. We are going down here and taking Disciple of Unyielding to help generate endurance charges faster and to have an increased amount of damage. And then we're doing this for increased damage from Frenzy and endurance charges. We are taking Testudo for the block and Life on block, and of course we're taking all 6 of our life masteries around the tree. Tribal Fury with non-ball strikes for clear, Sword Mastery for frenzy charges against bosses, Block Mastery, and Armor Mastery for reduced crit and additional block. We are taking Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on us through Protection Mastery here, Magic Teachings for percentage max res. We are taking Sanctuary for percent max res, and our Shield Block Mastery to intimidate targets whenever we block, which gives us increased damage on our attacks. We are taking Battle Trance for the max rage and the rage on hit nodes that come before it. And then we are taking Reservation Mastery, 20% increased life Reservation Mastery efficiency, so that we can maintain our Flesh and Stone and Vitality to control our life reservation, and Sovereignty, of course. And we are taking block mastery for the maximum chance to block attacks and safeguard. And then, of course, the rest of our life mastery up here. A pretty straightforward tree. There's not a lot of room for change. If you're leveling the character, you have access to the endurance charges or access to Juggernaut, but everything else is absolutely necessary on the tree as your character leveled up. As far as items go, we are using a Rebuke of the Vol Blade, we are using a Crown of the Inward Eye, we're using a Shaper Shield, alt slammed until you get % life on block. Ideally, you would have some more max life on here or some more res on here, but then you're going to craft % chance to block on that. For our rings, we're just using elemental damage rings with stats and resistances, nothing complex here. Chaos for our chest, a belt with max life resistances on it. Get one of these on trade for like 1 to 5C. They're very, very cheap. Windscreen boots for our dual curses, which allows us to both mark and punishment curse the target. And Thunder Fist, which gives us the added lightning damage to allow us to do good damage with our 4-link. Our 4-link is going to be Heavy Strike, Trinity, elemental damage with attacks, and multi-strike. We're running faster attacks on Leap Slam and more duration on Smite, so we don't have to hit Smite quite so often. Again, if you really wanted to, you could figure out a way to fit Calling Strike in here by pulling more duration off or faster attacks off. We are using a Carnage Heart Amulet. We do need to anoint Clever Thief to allow us to regenerate mana. We're running Blood Rage, Determination, and Petrified Blood in our shield. We're running Flesh and Stone and Arrogant support and a very, very low level Vitality. And the reason we're running a low level Vitality is to make sure that we can bounce back and forth across our low life. Of course, I can't spend it fast enough just yet. What happens if we level up our Vitality once more? So Vitality still needs to be leveled up a little bit more so that we can bounce across that life threshold. But right now, we're going to have to rely on getting hit to bounce across the life threshold, and that'll get our adrenaline up. If you get your Vitality close enough, then you no longer have to rely on being hit, and you can just generate the adrenaline through the use of the melee attack, which costs life as long as you are above low life. And then in our helmet, we are running Mark on Hit support tied to Assassin's Mark with Tempest Shield and Punishment. Now we will have a POB showed down below, but this is going to be our POB right here. You can see we have an excellent effective health pool, a lot of max fizz and max elemental hits, decent amount of chaos max hit, and very, very solid damage for the budget that we have on the character. If you have any questions over anything, just leave a comment down below or come by Twitch and ask. The Adrenaline, Low Life, First to Strike, Last to Fall Ascendancy node is a little on the complicated side. So if you don't understand what's going on there, please come by and ask for a more in-depth explanation. Other than that, thank you very much. Y'all have a wonderful day. Peace out.